I should wait until I've watched a few more episodes of a TV show before I talk about it on this show, because previously I have mentioned that I was getting into Beyond Skinwalker Ranch, and now I'd like to formally announce I am getting out of Beyond Skinwalker Ranch. Hello and welcome to Talk Spooky to Me, the Ghost Story Guys Middle Show. I'm Brennan Storr.
I'm Paul Bestel.
This is our opportunity to hear from you, our audience. Paul Bestel, my friend, how are you doing?
I'm very well, very well. I've been learning this week all about the life of Ken Allen.
And who is Ken Allen?
Ken Allen was an orangutan.
I'm already interested. Tell me more.
So Ken Allen was an orangutan who was brought up at San Antonio Zoo in Texas. He was infamous in the mid-'80s. I didn't know anything about this. And Ken Allen was named after the two keepers that raised him, Ken and Allen. When he got to about 13 or 14, people started to realise that Ken liked to let himself out of his enclosure and go for a walk around the zoo to look at the other animals. And wandered about and waved at people as they walked past and just liked to go out for a wander around the zoo. And at first they were like, what's going on here? And so they began to try and find out what was going on. So they changed all his locks and everything, and he kept breaking out. And so it got so bad that they put surveillance cameras in, but Ken knew where they were. And so he would hide, or he would wander around and then disable the camera from behind it.
Right.
Or he would look at it and then kind of smile, and he'd like... And they couldn't work out what was going on. And I think he broke out 16 times to the point that all the other orangutans were following him out and going for these trips around the zoo with him. And eventually they had to deal with it because there was another orangutan who he absolutely hated, who was called Otis, and he didn't like Otis. And so they noticed that he'd started going to where Otis was and just throwing rocks at him. And then just wandering off and carry on wandering around the zoo. And eventually they had to spend $50,000 and get some rock climbing experts in to find every nook, cranny, toe and finger hold in his enclosure to stop him getting out, because they couldn't stop him. And so they had to basically make a smooth wall and everywhere to eventually stop him. And that eventually put an end to Ken's escapades, and he sadly passed away in 2000. He developed cancer and had to be put to sleep, sadly, but he was 29 years old. But I thought, what an amazing story, because he was lovely to everybody apart from Otis, who he hated.
I think we can all agree that Otis was probably a real bastard. Ken sounds like my kind of people, man. I also dislike being stuck in places against my will. I actually just got off, when I was coming home from the grocery store earlier today, this woman pushed her little baby on the elevator with me. And she looked at me and kind of smiled. And then a beat later, she started just crying. And I said to the mother, I said, oh, I get that all the time. Don't worry about it. And she goes, no. She said she hates being stuck. She doesn't like when she's not moving forward. And I was like, kid, I get it. I get it.
An office job's not for that child.
Nope, nor me. Hashtag free Ken Allen.
So yes, I've learnt a lot this week.
I'll say, well, I actually, coincidentally, I learned a lot too, Paul. So I learned that I should wait until I've watched a few more episodes of a TV show before I talk about it on this show, because previously I have mentioned that I was getting into Beyond Skinwalker Ranch, and now I'd like to formally announce I am getting out of Beyond Skinwalker Ranch. Yeah, that was a mistake. That was a mistake. I'm just gonna put it this way, folks. My reasons for this are multitudinous. But we'll say that when someone tells you they were previously a spy for the CIA, they probably weren't. We'll just say that.
I reckon they were a secret space soldier instead.
A space cadet, perhaps. Speaking of new and exciting experiences, we have a fresh new lineup of listener mail.
Our courteous and efficient staff is on call 24 hours a day to serve all your supernatural elimination needs.
We're ready to believe you.
First up, our message is from Shannon, who says, hello, I listen to all your episodes. Can't tell you enough how much I enjoy the banter between the two of you, your humour and your laughs. I thoroughly enjoy ghost stories and was born and raised in Victoria, so I immediately took your podcast when I first heard you mention your ties to Victoria. I had something cool happen a couple of weeks ago while visiting the Empress, so I thought I'd share. My husband and I live in Nanaimo and chose to spend the night in Victoria for our anniversary this year. We went for a cocktail at the Q Lounge in the Empress to top off our lovely evening. It was a busy evening, but close to midnight, and there were no children in the bar. As we sat waiting for our fancy cocktails, you've got to love that beautiful purple Empress gin, my husband glanced towards a pillar at the side of the bar itself, did a quick double take, and had the oddest look on his face. I immediately caught this and asked him, "What?" He said, "Nothing," and glanced back oddly, and I pried. Again I said, "What is it? What are you looking at?" As he was clearly seeing something. He said, "I don't want to say," and almost looked embarrassed and worried. I told him he couldn't possibly do that to me and just to tell me what he was looking at, half laughing it off, thinking, what on earth could it possibly be? He looked at me and said, "I just glanced over there and there was a little boy leaning on that post staring this way, but there obviously isn't. But he had an old cap on, just leaning and looking over here. Really freaked me out. There's no kid here. I know there's no kid. It was a split second and gone by my double take." He looked worried, like I was going to think he was crazy, and I just said, "I believe you." I asked the server right after, and I said, "I have an odd question for you, but is there a little boy who runs around here?" She said she hasn't heard of a little boy, but proceeded to tell us the more well-known ghostly encounters of the Empress. Days later, I did a deep dive online and couldn't find any whole story to confirm it, but one website did mention a lesser-reported little boy who is seen on occasions, and that's all it mentioned. It was a split-second encounter, and not even my own, but my man's. I thought it was pretty cool, and I definitely believe he saw whoever that little boy is. Thanks, guys. Keep dishing the great entertainment. Ooh, marvellous story.
Yeah, that is very cool. I've heard of a little boy in the Empress, but like you say, Shannon, it's not one of the wider known stories. No, that is super cool. I think the new owners, because it used to be a Fairmont property, and it sold a few years back, and I don't think the new owners are as keen on the ghost stories. I remember hearing from John at the Ghostly Tours that they used to be allowed to go into the front yard of the Empress, sort of there's like a little green space, and to tell the stories. And I seem to recall hearing that they're not allowed to do that anymore because the new management is just they're not on board with the whole ghost thing.
I can kind of understand in this modern era why some establishments might want to take a step back from the paranormal. You only have to look at TikTok to understand why a lot of businesses would say, fuck that shit.
It's an easy way to end up with, I suppose, the wrong kind of attention. And the thing with the Empress is it's such a historic hotel. The lobby is so lovely. And they get so much non-guest foot traffic anyways. I can imagine that if you suddenly start having influencers standing around doing shit more than usual, I suppose that could come up the works.
Does a demon live in this whiskey bottle? Let's talk to the staff and find out. Have you been possessed after drinking whiskey at the Empress? Let us know in the comments below, yeah.
And I'm just picturing them getting tossed out like DJ Jazzy Jeff in The Fresh Prince. Shannon, also, I didn't realize that they had opened a lounge back up in the Empress, because they used to have the Bengal Lounge, which used to be a nice little cocktail space. Then they closed it for a long time. So it's good to know that the queue is there. I'll have to go check it out. I had a look at the menu while Paul was reading your email, and I'm intrigued. And if the next time you're down in the city, if you want to try, if you like gin, go over to Fathom at the Hotel Grand Pacific. That's their new cocktail bar, and try their Nori Negroni. It is a Negroni with essence of nori, of seaweed, essentially. It adds this really nice kind of smoky umami flavor to it. It's very, very good.
I'm quite partial to a nice gin.
Yeah, I never used to be, but Negronis is what sold me on it.
Yeah. Too many parties as a kid seeing crying teenagers on stairs put me off it. And I kind of got back into it because gin's been really cool here for about 15 years.
It's been the same in Victoria. Everyone and their dog is making their like artisanal gin.
It's amazing, really. It used to be the drink of the pauper, gin.
Really?
Yeah, that's Jack the Ripper and all that was
gin
all
mills,
down to
course,
gin.
Yeah.
All the gin shops and everywhere, everybody getting shit-faced on gin and just laying in the street and stuff. and then it kind of fell out of fashion, and then it got kind of taken over. And gins here were very boring and dull, like Gordon's or Beefeater. And I think Bombay Sapphire was the one that kicked the door in, and after that, everything just followed, really. And now you can get any flavour you want gin. We've got a couple of brilliant ones made in Chef Robin of Loxley gin. It's gorgeous. And a few others, and I always like mine with bitter lemon.
Just gin and a bit of lemon?
Sometimes, no, as in bitter lemon.
Oh, bitter lemon. I see. Is? No, I don't.
So it's like, ironically, it's a blue drink that tastes of lemon.
Interesting.
It's a mixer. So it's like your tonic water, orange juice, bitter lemon. You would have that, and I love it. It's beautiful.
Okay.
Really dances across your tongue. I don't know what it would be called outside the UK. And that's the same thing. That's a very old-fashioned mixer that really dropped out of fashion. One of those weird things that sometimes if somebody in a pub asked for it, when I used to run pubs, you'd like go, is it 1976 here? Where the fuck have you come from? Like somebody asking for half a lager and orange. Like things like that you just didn't ask for unless you wanted people to think you were odd.
Next up, Fiendish Glee says, hey, Bren, can you tell me where you got the interlude music on episode 220, just before you spoke about everything? It's the kind of creepy carnival music. I really like it, and I think it would go great with my Vincent Price laughing phone ring. I have a friend it would be great to have as her message ring as well. And Fiendish Glee, I responded to you separately on Patreon, but I thought just in case there's anyone else who's interested, the song was Devil's Waltz by Guto Lucina. And we get all our music for the show that's not the intro and outro music. That all comes from Epidemic Sound. They're a subscription service. So we pay X amount of dollars per month, and we can download, however much music we need for the show, and it's all licensed and royalty free. But quite often, if you hear music you like on the show and you want to know, shoot me a message, because quite often those artists do also put their music on Spotify. So, for example, our patron music is called 8-Bit, and that is also streaming pretty much everywhere. I can't remember the artist off the top of my head, but I'm sure it's not hard to find. But yeah, so that is Guto Lucina, Devil's Waltz. And again, Epidemic Sound is where we get most of our music.
I want to know how I can have a Vincent Price laughing ringtone.
At this point, I think you just download a clip of Vincent Price laughing and slap it in there.
I have no idea. I haven't tried to do that for donkey's years. It was much easier when you just buy a ringtone for £2.
Speaking of which, actually, I tried to buy an album on iTunes the other day because I really like it and I want to support the artists.
La-di-da.
I know, $10. It's
all helps.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, no, it's so fucking hard to find. Like I signed up, I got rid of Spotify because those guys are motherfuckers. And I signed up back up to Apple Music, and those guys are motherfuckers too. They're just motherfuckers for different reasons. But I've been listening, as I mentioned in the patron bit, I've been listening to sort of was formed out of the remains of the band Sleep. And I really have been digging their Conference of the Birds album. So I thought, I've listened to this thing fucking 20 times on Apple Music. I should just buy it so the artists are actually getting paid for it.
Yes.
And I had to go through a whole fucking process. They don't, by default, let you buy music anymore. You can only do it from the computer, if I'm correct. You can only do it from your computer, and you have to enable the iTunes store. Otherwise, they just keep sending you through Apple Music. It make it so fucking hard to buy music from artists nowadays. I mean, mostly I buy from Bandcamp because that's kind of where most of the artists I listen to are. But is not on there, or at least not those albums. And Jesus Christ, yeah. Again, just yet another example of how artists get fucked by these digital platforms.
Absolutely. No, I mean, I use iTunes, or iMusic as it's now called, so little. Every time I open it up, I have to reset my password because I can never fucking remember it.
That's fair. I listen to a lot of streaming music when I'm driving.
Right, well, that'll be my mission this weekend, is to work out how I can make my phone sound like Vincent Price. Next up, Davey messages to say, I just wanted to say how glad I am that the episode you chose to repost during your vacation was the Clamato debacle Genesis episode. The first time around, I was too busy processing that the UK doesn't have Clamato to experience the true joy of Paul's reaction. This time I got to luxuriate in it, the same way I luxuriate in a red beer. Also, typing the words Clamato Redux has made me realise that perhaps the true horror of Clamato is if you drink enough of it in an alcoholic beverage to vomit it later. I love Clamato, but I think it would be truly miserable coming back up. Nothing tastes nice coming back up, Davey. I can tell you that, mate. Apart from poison. As always, love the show. Thanks for what you do and your emotional transparency and your vocal defense of basic human rights. Davey.
Davey, I have seen Clamato Redux. In real life, you are correct. It is very bad.
Yes. And we do get it here. You can buy it, as my brother proved, by buying it as one of my Christmas presents, the Christmas following that particular episode.
I can't remember. Did you ever try it?
I had a little bit.
I see.
That's all I'm ever going to drink of that. I might as well drink the juice out of a packet of salmon. And I like fish.
It's the song of my people you're slandering there.
No, it isn't. No, it bloody isn't. Bugger off. I know you all drink Molson.
Funny enough, I actually do just live down the street from... Oh, no, sorry. I think it's Labatt I live down the street from. Never mind.
Labatt's.
I'll never forget when they were moving the new brew tanks into the brewery shortly after I moved here. I was still living in the old place. And so they actually had to like take down power lines because the tanks were so big. They had to take down power lines to get them through. And I'll never forget one night I think I was coming back from a movie in Toronto. A mist had set in on London. And as I was driving through the mist, I see this huge shape looming up ahead of me on the road. And I thought, what the fuck am I looking? It looked like a UFO. And I realized it's the massive brew tank being moved into position.
Awesome.
My big story for the night.
Thank you.
Quiet life, Paul. Thank you. Yeah, you're welcome.
I enjoy it.
I'm a storyteller. I share experiences. So next up is from Kate. Kate says, hello, I'm writing in because I wanted to tell you about something I've been experiencing for a year or so now. I've shared these stories with friends and family, but no one really knows what to do with them, and most people tell me I'm probably having some kind of neurological issue. They say this in a joking fashion, but I know it's their way of saying they don't believe me. So I'm hoping that if you find any meaning or interest in this, you could give me your opinion. I'm going to do my best to describe it. A handful of times over the past year, maybe 5 or 6 times, I experience seeing a future event in my dreams. It's not like I'm predicting huge events or anything with any meaning. More so like I'm seeing a snapshot, maybe 2 to 3 seconds, of something I will see or experience a day or two later. Something completely mundane and always something/someone I don't recognize. Each time I wake up thinking, that was a little weird, acknowledging it, but honestly kind of forgetting about it afterwards because, like I said, it's always random little snapshots of something quite random. When I experience it later, it's not a feeling of deja vu, which I have experienced and know the feeling. It's like an immediate recognition that this is what I saw, like a puzzle piece falling into place. It takes me back a minute, and then I'm able to refocus on the task at hand. I'll give the most recent example. In my dream, I saw a man, who I did not recognize, sitting in some kind of room with white walls. This most recent picture stuck out to me because in my dream, it was like I could only see through a rectangle, like when you watch a video that is filmed with a phone vertically, so that when you watch it in horizontal view, there are 2 black bars on the side of the video where it does not fit the screen. Fast forward a couple of days later, I start a new job, and I'm in a section of orientation. I'm with the instructor for a few hours when suddenly I recognize the picture. The man with white walls behind him. Only in real life, I was sitting in a computer lab, looking at the man through an opening between 2 computer monitors, making it where I'm only able to see him through the rectangle in the middle. This stuck out to me because it felt even more undeniable. Why would I make up not being able to see most of the picture in my dream? I hope that makes sense. I honestly don't know how else to describe it. Let me know if you have any thoughts. I do have a second thing to note that is a bit different, but with the same man that I described above. Remember that this person is someone I just met. I have even moved a few weeks ago to a new state, so it's not as though I've actually met this person somewhere else and forgot about it. On the second day of orientation with this instructor, whom I will call James, I mentioned to my colleague that I kept wanting to call the instructor Jack. Even though I knew his sister was James, and I even know people in my life named James and no one named Jack. A few hours later, the instructor was giving us his background and mentions his twin brother. Holy shit, Kate, I have something to say about this. Mentions his twin brother named Jack. I looked over to my colleague, pointing me from across the room and saying, "Tell him what you said." I explained to James, to which he replied, "I just got chills. I absolutely love the podcast and everything you guys do. I hope to sign up for the Patreon soon to be able to support you even more. Thank you for your time, Kate." Kate, I've had exactly that same experience. Nick used to work with this guy who had a partner named Pam. And whenever I would talk about her, I would constantly call her Jean. And Nick would say, no, her name is Pam. And I'm like, fuck, right, sorry. I found out later she's a twin. Her sister's name is Jean. Had no way of knowing that. So so I don't have an answer for you, Kate, but you're not alone. It's definitely not a neurological issue.
I don't even know if there is a tranche of precognition that would cover the mundane, but for most people, precognition is incredibly mundane.
Yeah.
So I don't think it's anything unusual, Kate. I think millions of people do exactly the same thing. The problem with precognition is we only hear about the people who have the big ones, or those people who have lied about the big ones, like that psychic in the 80s who claimed to have had a psychic vision about something and released a video to prove it, and then it all came out that they'd changed the dates in it and it was actually recorded after the event.
Oh, God.
I can't remember who that was.
All of them.
A large percentage of them. So I don't think it's anything to be worried about. I think the problem is these days people only focus on precognition as dealing with major events, whereas I would suggest that 99.9% of all precog is mundane, strange, everyday things.
So yeah, Kate, I genuinely, I don't think there's anything wrong with you. I just think you have you're tuned in to the whatever it is, and you're certainly not alone.
Your friends need to get a life, but you're not. You're fine.
Yeah, no kidding. Maybe find better friends.
I mean, to be fair, I'd be concerned if my friends didn't think I was having some kind of mental episode most of the time. But that's my personality, and I've grown into it.
Yeah, me too. Me too.
Anyway, lightening the load, Pat sends us this warm message. I wanted to let you know I enjoy your artwork and references within. All these years, and you guys still put out top-notch shows. So thank you, Pat.
Thank you, Pat. That's very kind. I do love making the artwork for the shows. That's one of my little things that I just spend some time on after I've done all the editing. Sometimes I'll admit, sometimes we do shows because I've come up with an idea for a cover. But it's been a while since I've done that. Usually it's more like kind of find the cover during the editing.
Put some clothes on a Smurf. Those type of things.
Why would I want to put clothes on? Smurf me gently, smurf me slowly.
I knew I shouldn't have introduced you to that song. You've not been the same since.
While I gyrate sinfully and make Paul uncomfortable, we're going to take a quick break for some ads. Welcome back. Folks, I did that entirely to get that look on his face. You can't see it, but I'll enjoy it enough for all however many thousand of you.
I just turned the telly on at 3 a.m. in the 80s. Welcome back.
Pick up the phone.
0898 27 27 27. Ooh!
It's not a great movie, but Spike Lee's Girl 6 is kind of a fun look at doing that kind of work.
Yes. I remember I got quite into him as a young teenager. I once won a Bronski Beat album because of chat lines in the mid-80s.
Oh, I thought you were talking about Spike Lee. I was like, oh, we're going to talk about colors. And okay, cool. No, that wasn't actually Spike Lee. But anyways, continue.
Do the Right Things, the pinnacle of his work. But anyway, please continue.
No, that's more or less it.
Yeah,
I mean, his new film is debuting at Toronto International Film Festival. I'm not going to be able to make it there in time because it's one of those things that are just having a quick theatrical run before they go straight to Apple streaming. But yeah, I'm bummed out because it looks good. He's back working with Denzel, I think, for the first time since Malcolm X.
So what's that, 30 years?
Yeah, I think Malcolm X was 91, something like that.
Oh, I think it was 94.
And folks, if you actually think, who the fuck are we talking about, or you want to know more, I recommend reading Manning Marable's biography of Malcolm X. Came out about 15 years ago. I mean, Malcolm X's autobiography is good, but it's heavily mythologized. Marable had a much more, I would say, clear-eyed take on the legacy of Malcolm X. It's still a good book. He's a fascinating man, but yeah, much more in depth than the Alex
an enigma wrapped inside of a conundrum.
And I mentioned Colors. Folks, if you haven't seen Colors, also go check that out. That was directed by Dennis Hopper. That wasn't Spike Lee, but very important film about race relations within the police. in LA in the 1980s. It was one of those infamously difficult productions. 1980 and 8. And we were almost, we split the difference on Malcolm X. It was 92.
I dispute that.
Okay. Well, while Paul fights IMDb, next up is from Gene. Gene says, "Hi, Brennan and Paul. I'm enjoying the Cross-Canada Ghost Tales, and I would like to offer one for Manitoba. I sent this along about a year and a half ago in response to a particular episode. This one is from Flin Flon, a town that I feared we were going to lose to wildfires this month. I've wanted to write for a very long time, but today's episode, The Life After Death, has brought the need/itch to a peak. Every story in this episode had a very personal resonance with me, almost as though each one was selected especially for me. It is difficult to choose only one of the many incidents that I or a member of my family have had, but the one that I have chosen is my maternal grandfather's experience. I have not heard reference to the third man syndrome in the podcast until this episode, and this is exactly what my grandfather experienced. If this had been experienced by my Scottish granny, I would not have been surprised at all, but this happened to my quiet, stoic, and practical grandfather, a man who never expressed a religious or spiritual belief. This event occurred in winter, early in the Second World War. My grandfather was a diamond driller for the Hudson Bay Mining and Smelting Company in Flin Flon, Manitoba, a new town in the northern wilderness. Grandpa would also hunt to supplement the family's winter food supply. On this occasion, however, Grandpa was hunting out of season, by himself in the middle of winter. He told my gran that if he shot a moose or deer, he would most likely be coming in very late and not to wait up for him. I think that my gran felt uneasy and asked him to take his dog along, but Grandpa said he wouldn't this time. He thought the dog might spook any game or attract the attention of the RCMP, and he was hunting illegally. Gran put her 5 daughters to bed that evening, but couldn't settle herself, nor could she her oldest daughter, my Aunt Bet. Gran said that she knew something was wrong, and became certain of it when Aunt Bet said she couldn't sleep, that every time she closed her eyes, she saw her dad crawling in the snow. What she saw when she closed her eyes turned out to be exactly what was happening in real time. Grandpa had hiked quite a few miles outside of town where game was more likely to be found, and during his hike he caught his foot between 2 rocks, fell, and broke his leg. He managed to free himself, but realized that the leg had a compound fracture, that he would not be able to stand, let alone hike the miles back to town, and that he was most likely going to freeze to death that night. If he had brought his dog, a Newfoundland Lab Cross, the big dog would have kept him warm and barked if anyone was nearby. Sometime during that night, while he was laying in the snow, he heard a man say his name. He later told my gran that he looked up and saw a man in a Navy uniform standing next to him. The man said, "George, you have 5 girls at home that you cannot leave," and encouraged him to crawl, because he would die if he fell asleep. Grandpa did crawl. He would throw a small stick a few feet, crawl to it, and throw it again. He threw the stick and crawled to it all night, exactly the vision my aunt was seeing. Luck was on Grandpa's side because a trapper came upon him in the morning, dragged him back to his cabin, and kept him all day until he flagged down a work train that took him into Flin Flon. His broken leg had frozen, which perhaps kept him from bleeding to death, but could not be saved after it thawed, so Grandpa was sent down to Winnipeg for further surgery. While he was in the hospital, a newspaper was brought to him. In that paper was a list of Canadian military men who had recently died in combat. That list included their photographs and the dates of their death. In that list of men, my grandfather saw the photograph of the man in the Navy uniform who had been by his side in the middle of a freezing northern night, encouraging him to keep going. That man had died the day of my grandfather's accident. Thank you for the exceptional podcast that the two of you guys give us. It has brought me hours of interesting stories, laughter, and music. And Gene, that's incredible. Thank you for sharing. I can't believe I missed that the first time around. Thank you so much for sharing that.
Most great explorers of the late 19th and early 20th centuries, I would imagine most of them have similar stories about third man syndrome. I think Mallory did, obviously before he passed away. The man who clearly climbed Mount Everest first, in my opinion.
I'm not in a position to disagree, so I'm going to nod my head.
Well, they found his body the other year, didn't they? Did
they?
It's the camera. The camera is the thing we all need, because they took a camera with them, and they've never found the camera. And the camera will prove if they got there or not, I suppose, if the film's still there. But I'm trying to think when Mallory popped out, because they found him in a glacier.
No kid.
Because the other guy they found, who was the other guy? Mallory and Sandy, was it Irving? Mallory and Irving?
I think it's Irvine.
It's amazing, really. And you look at what they went up in. If you ever want to think people are crackers, look at what they wore to climb Mount Everest. Well, you had oxygen tanks that you just had to chuck when they ran out.
Oh, yeah.
Boots with nails put through them.
Jesus Christ.
Do you know about the the corpses they use for guides?
No.
So if you die on Everest...
You stay there, I knew that.
Yeah. And so some of them have become known as landmarks.
Oh.
And so they use the corpses as waypoints. Probably the most famous one these days is known as Green Boots.
Okay.
He died during the infamously ill-fated 1996 expedition, and his boots stick out. Yeah, that's one of the worst disasters on the mountain. 8 of them died. Sleeping Beauty, who was Frances Arsentiev. She was rescued from the top, but the team rescuing her couldn't continue. They were running out of oxygen, and so they had to leave her to save their own lives. And then the day after, somebody else coming back down found her, and she was still alive.
Oh, God.
Her husband died trying to find her, and was ironically found during the expedition to find Mallory and Irving.
I mean, there's a certain poetry in that, at the very least. You know, like, I mean, obviously you go up the mountain with the intent of summiting and coming back down, but at the same time, to become a permanent part of its story and to assist others to do that same thing. Again, I think there's a certain amount of nobility in that. I mean, better to be alive, of course, but still, it's I would say it's a more notable death than most of us can expect.
Yeah.
Well, Gene, we're grateful that your grandfather was not a similar casualty in this vein. Thank you for that wonderful story. Thank you so much. And just for your support and listenership over all these years. You've been with us for a very long time.
And look, great stuff, because we don't get many third man syndrome stories. So
No, not at all.
Peace Cat writes, stay creepy and keep your shit roads.
This is in reference to Stay Creepy Quebec, folks, just for the record.
To know she might be driving around Britain because we've got the shittest roads in the world. Montreal is the worst city I've ever driven through. Also, do not ever stop anywhere at night in Quebec. You might witness the cartel do a drug deal in an old gas station. Well, I know where I need to stop in Quebec.
Hey, man, you want to find the mob in Quebec? You don't have to look that far.
Yeah, don't worry. I know you know people. I know you're a connected man.
Oh, I am the least connected man. However, when I was living in...
man.
There, oh, yeah. You got to be Sicilian for that. Peace Cat's right. Montreal has terrible fucking roads. Quebec generally, but Montreal has famously terrible roads. And a lot of it, there's huge amounts of corruption there because of the presence of organized crime. And if you, I know, shocking. There's a lot of different organized crime in Montreal, more than you might think. When I was living there, just around the corner from me, there was an Italian restaurant that I never went into, but I noticed there was always these like really fancy supercars being left at the valet. I was like, I should try that someday. And someone's like, no, that's not really for you. Okay. But if you want to learn about the Italian mob in Montreal, there's the book The Sixth Family by Adrian Humphreys and Lee Lamothe. The Sixth Family: The Collapse of the New York Mafia and the Rise of Vito Rizzuto. It's very fucking dense. It's very slow. It's very dry. But if you want to know more about the Montreal mob, that's a good place to start. Also, there's a documentary called Kings of Coke. Came out in 2022, and that is about the Irish mob in Montreal. So if you want to learn about those two presences in Montreal, those are some places you can start. And that has, something to do with the perpetually shitty roads, because the amount of graft in the construction industry is allegedly considerable.
Yes, some of our potholes have roads attached to them here.
They don't even have those in Montreal. It's just potholes after potholes all the way down.
Next up, Amanda writes, hello, Brennan and Paul. I've just joined the GSG patrons, so now you're stuck with me for at least a year. I'm currently listening to episode 135, Poltergeists Will Tear Us Apart, and you were talking about kids that see hands coming out of the walls, etc. It reminded me of a time when I was a kid, when I was at church walking from the foyer through the sanctuary to the fellowship hall. I glanced up at the podium where the pastor gave her sermons and saw a hand cut off at the wrist floating right next to where her head would be. The fingers were spread out, pointing towards the ground. I don't go to that church anymore. I don't blame you. but I've always had a creepy feeling in the sanctuary of the church. Anyway, I love your podcast and listen to it all day, every day. Thank you, Amanda. Cool. Disembodied hands.
Scary stuff. I mean, I guess it's better. I don't know. Is it better if they're attached to some weirdo? I don't know. Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know. There's always a thing about disembodied body parts. Always been a bit strange.
Yeah, and shout out to Rin, our long time listener, my friend Rin, who's told us that story about the hands coming out of the wall. That was an experience she had.
Yeah, I think that must be in relevance because I'm sure I talked about the Pontefract ghost because we were talking about hands. The glove incident.
Oh, of course. Yeah.
Brilliant.
So thank you, Amanda, and we're happy to have you on board.
Welcome.
Our final message for the day comes from Jane. Jane says, "Good evening. I've been listening to Ghost Story Guys for a while now. I had to start from episode 1, although if I'd known that the real show started at episode 101, I might have just skipped the first co-host altogether. I found your show when I was listening to Scared Daily. Fear Daily. When I was listening to Fear Daily. Literally had no idea that Brennan wrote those stories since I skip out of the credits, and immediately pulled over on my mail route and made the changes to my iHeartRadio and tuned in. Little did I know I was destined to hear you. Recently, I've been really distraught over the regime change here in America and how my deep red Republican dipshit coworkers celebrate. The thought of literally working until the day I die has me feeling miserable. Here in rural Arkansas, I see the most extreme poverty. I have people on my mail route that are living in tents next to their burned down houses. One family lives in half a mobile home since the other half has been smashed by a fallen tree. I could go on, but those are the ones that break my heart. This week I've been alone in my house while my husband is visiting family in Tulsa for the holiday, and the kids are all doing their own things. With more free time than I'm used to, I got to thinking about how my family could live better lives or move to another country with my life insurance. I was planning it all out. I could take all those sleeping pills and just be gone. The family would understand it was for them that I was gone. Suddenly, the music app I listened to switched over to iHeartRadio. My phone does that between TikTok and iHeart all the time, where Ghost Story Guys was finishing up. I heard, "Hey, before you hit that 15-second skip button, this is not an ad," or something similar. I bawled my head off when Paul said, "We're not going to try and talk you out of self-harm." In episode 151, the most recent one I've gotten to, Brennan said it's really hard to wrap his mind around that people are really listening. It's true. Even 2023, Paul and Brennan have a way of finding me in 2025. Insert all of the uncomfortable praises and gushing love that makes you squirm. Thank you. Truly thank you, Jane. And Jane, thank you. Thank you for still being here.
Thank you for taking the time to share that with us. And I'm glad a Yorkshireman could do something for you, my love. And long may it continue. It's tough and it's hard and it's difficult to explain to some people sometimes, those feelings, because you always think it's going to be better, but it didn't. So take each day as it comes, my love. And it may come back, but at least you're going to be better attuned to understanding yourself. And it's never too late. There's always someone, somewhere, who'll talk to you.
And folks, this goes for all of you. In times like this, hope seems very hard. But hope in times like these is a radical act. And we have to have it. Because hope gets us through this moment and then the next moment. And really, that's all we can do is just keep going. And we find the other people we care about. We find the people we love. We find the people we resonate with. And we keep going together. And that's all we have. And so if you see someone who has hope, you're feeling shitty, just cling to them and try and just take a little bit for yourself. Because right now, all we have is each other. Things are pretty dark, generally. And again, take your comfort from the people you love.
Yeah, especially any Cowboys fans listening, because by the end of September, you'll be feeling the same way.
Peter just threw his phone across the room.
He's done it again.
That son of a bitch.
No.
He's talking into his lapel. Take the shot. Take the shot.
It's all right. My Jaden Daniels jacket will protect me.
Oh, man. So again, Jane, thank you so much. You honor us by sharing that with us and by listening. And again, stick around because everything will be all right in the end? If everything's not all right, then don't worry because it's not the end.
Absolutely. And don't forget, hope is often the only thing worth fighting for. And once you stop fighting for hope, nothing else will change. So keep on believing It does get better.
We got to stay alive if for no other reason than to spite those assholes.
And laugh at Cowboys fans.
Take the shot, take the shot. Anyways, we're going to steamroll right past the Cowboys talk.
Good. That's how you should be doing. Stop bringing them up.
It's all about the coaching.
Yeah, they've been wanting some for about 20 years. But anyway, carry on.
Folks, thank you so much for writing in. We appreciate every single one of you who comments on Spotify, YouTube, anywhere you can, who leaves positive reviews. It just means the world to us. We love knowing that you're interacting with what we do, that what we do makes a difference to you. And we hope to keep hearing from you for a very long time to come. You can email us at ghoststoryguys@gmail.com. You can find us on Instagram as The Ghost Story Guys. You can find us on Facebook as The Ghost Story Guys Finally Made a Group. We are on Reddit as r/Ghost Story Guys Podcast. And Paul, where can everyone find you?
You can find me masquerading as Mysteries and Monsters across most social media networks and all good podcast sites.
And if you haven't seen it already, folks, check out Paul's new podcast artwork. It's fucking cool.
When my life calms down, which will probably be October the 1st, ironically, then I might get round to getting that added as a t-shirt, because I have had a couple of people ask me if I will.
I'll be getting one, so.
When I get 5 minutes. Oh, this is happening. Football season's started. I've been watching tennis, documentaries about Area 51. The Australian serial killer documentary I haven't watched yet about somebody putting bodies in barrels. There's not too much to watch.
All right. I am Largely the Truth on Threads, Instagram, Blue Sky, and Letterboxd. And as Jane mentioned, you can find my show Fear Daily everywhere podcasts live. And of course, we would not have a complete episode of Talk Spooky without a tune. And this time around, we are proud to welcome back a returning guest, Tracy Barnett. Tracy, of course, yes, been on the show, I think twice before, 2 or 3 times. And she is back with Raise Your Head. It dropped on Friday, July 11th. And it is, she says it is a touchy topic. It is being about domestic violence, but she is hoping that it helps raise awareness and brings a sense of community, connection, and empowerment to those affected. And if you like what you hear, and I'm sure you will, find more about Tracy at tracybarnettmusic.com. You'll find a link in the show notes as well. And you can find Raise Your Head streaming everywhere you get your tunes. Thanks as always for joining us, folks. We will be back next week with episode 222. 23? Which one, Paul? I can't remember which. We record these ones in advance. 222. There we go. I'm gonna go with it.
222. Come on and do the conga.
But until then, we will leave you with Tracy Barnett and Raise Your Head.